All right, we're recording, Darla, too, just so.
Yep, that's perfect. So yeah, I guess we'll go ahead and get started just for time here. So thank you so much for taking some time. We're kind of calling this like an early bird extra, really just trying to add value to your attendance already coming to a PAAE meeting and event. So just trying to give something that's extra that we haven't really done before. So again, I think I know everyone on here, but we are encouraged as teacher ambassadors just to really let people get to know us first before we just start spewing some of these resources. You can see some fun facts about myself of 8 years at Cumberland Valley. But really why I wanted to pursue this ambassador program was because for the first time in like 3 or 4 years since it existed, they were offering 2 weeks of training, because 1 week of training always fell over our state convention week. So nobody from Pennsylvania ever went. So Melanie and I kind of had the same idea, like, let's take a chance now that we have that availability to do so. So we're happy to bring these resources to teachers in Pennsylvania that maybe other states have known about for a little bit longer. During this, again, if this was in person or everyone's on a device right now, this is really for you to become more comfortable with the National FFA educator resource side of the website. So if you just go down a rabbit hole and start exploring and find something that's valuable to you and you're not listening to me, that's totally fine. But it's really for you to see what National FFA has put together for you to utilize. If we were in person, I'd say please engage, talk with your peers, use the chat feature if you already use one of these resources and just want to vouch how awesome it is. Quick look at where we're going with this. I think it's important to start with thinking about what your teacher needs are first, and then we can kind of look and see what National FFA has already developed that may hit one of those target areas. So you don't need to start from the beginning and go through every resource that National FFA has. Most importantly, we want to show you how to access these resources, and Melanie's put together a nice recording we've been using pretty heavily just to remain consistent on that messaging. And then I specifically want to share on the AF&R value chain resources and then advocacy resources, depending on what you're doing with your chapter. And still give a plug for the National FFA Convention Guide, even though that has passed. I think it's still valuable. And if you're looking for things to do before the holidays, that could be a really cool way to integrate that. So what I'd like to get started with, up on the screen, you'll see a list of 10 areas and just kind of 10 things that teachers a lot of times will ask for. So I'd like you, using the chat, to identify, if you have 3 of these, you can type 3 areas that you're interested in or you need assistance with. If you just have 1 or 2, I just like to see where we're kind of coming at if you had a wish list of what do I need, and then that can kind of guide where we're going. Okay, so connecting to career and industry, awesome. I think the AF&R value chain that I'm going to share touches on that a little bit. Ag technology I see in there, career exploration. Probably wait for 1 more. Ag tech, perfect. So again, this is really just for you to think and reflect on kind of where you're at as a teacher, like at a different, whatever stage of your career you're in. And this next 2 pages, and again, we're going to share all this with you, so you don't need to jot any of it down right now. But this is just to show that whether you are looking for ag technology or career exploration, here's the resource that aligns to that directly. So that way you don't need to go through this entire list of things on a website. You can kind of pinpoint exactly where you're going. So you can kind of see there, like the top 3 that you'd mentioned, like the FFA Blue 65, Ag Explorer website, if you haven't investigated that, completely worth your time. And we're going to dive into the value chain here today. You can see some other full-length curriculums that have been developed that may be of interest to you. Some things on the FFA side, lots of choice boards. Those are excellent for sub-plans, lessons and videos and posters to accompany your FFA handbook if you're teaching FFA history. So really the point of this is, if you think you need something, National FFA has developed it, but it's more like for classroom implementation as opposed to just teaching FFA. Okay, So at this point, you may be like, oh, I may have found something that is of interest to me, and I may want to dive in a little bit deeper. So this is going to be a quick 2-minute clip that Melanie put together that shows where everything is located. And there's actually 2 ways that you can access it. So we'll watch through this together.
I'm going to show you 2 quick ways to be able to access the educator resources that are available on the National FFA website. You can see the National FFA website, ffa.org, and their home screen here on the page right now. So the first way that you can access the educator resources is to go to the dashboard and click on Teachers and Advisors. And when you click on that tab, that will bring you to some resources just available to teachers and advisors, including your roster information and other aspects related to that. But on the menu on the left-hand side, you can scroll down to Educator Resources. And when you do, you will get to the menu that has the specific resources created by National FFA. Right now, the information about National Convention is front and center and is something they're highlighting, as well as some remote teaching resources. But as you scroll down the page, you'll find some of the major categories that they have resources, such as what's new, lesson plans, educator guides, program management, and professional growth. So feel free to browse. And if you have a specific resource that you're looking for and you know the name of it, then if you scroll down a little bit farther on the left-hand side, you'll find a search menu, and you can type in there and identify what you're looking for. One other way to get to that educator resources section when we're on the main page of the FFA website is to go to Explore FFA. All the way over on the left-hand side of that menu, almost to the bottom, is the Educator Resources tab again. And when you click on that, that brings you back to the same place that we just were, where you can find the main screen for all of the great educator resources, as well as the search menu. So happy browsing, have some fun, and check out some great resources to add to your classroom today.
So you will have access to that video again. Again, I think it's pretty short to the point. Melanie does a good job with that. But if you would like to be going through with me when we're explaining these next 2 resources, that would be awesome, just so you can understand a little bit further how to get there. So again, I'm going to deep dive into the AFNR value chain and then advocacy and literacy modules. Okay, so I think as ag teachers, we just, with your experience in the industry, maybe your background, you understand like what it takes to get food from a farm all the way through production into a grocery store, into the hands of consumers. Okay, so this is a really cool micro site. So they really keep this up to date. It's not just like an in-print curriculum or a lesson plan that is ever changing, and it really does showcase how the steps that need to be taken, and it connects back to careers and other resources that National FFA has put together. So I'm going to link right to this website so you can see where it's at. Again, Melanie's putting some direct links in the chat there for you as well. And I really want to highlight that a lot of the work has been done for you already. Always be on the lookout when you're on this website for educator resources like clickables and just things that kind of get your attention like that. So you may have gone through this website and said, like, this is really cool. Like, let's just go make a worksheet for students to go through and do a website, a web quest with this website. Well, it's already done for you. So when you first click into that educator resources, you will see for each stage of that value chain, things that connect back to SAEs, other videos with industry experts they've already done. So it really just kind of connects everything back. If a student's interested in research and development, I can send them here. If they're interested in pre-production, so on and so forth. So it's really just like a good landing page of all the resources they put together. But don't forget about that implementation guide. This is where you can actually find lesson plans, like if you need to submit those, or for student teachers to provide those to you. The activity sheets are awesome. It's ready to go, ready to print out. You can edit and upload into Google Docs pretty simply if you're a Google school, but don't discount that I need to make things from scratch, because 90% of the work has been already done with those resources that you have there. some ways, going back to my PowerPoint here, ways that we can actually use this in your classroom. Really have students pick a section of that value chain that maybe they find they're interested in. If you've done like an interest profile for future careers, or maybe this is how you start off the year. So this is in an intro to ag class. What part of the value chain do you think you connect with the most right now? This would also be an excellent place for those SAE ideas and connecting back to if I'm interested in research and development or marketing, things like that. Choice boards would be a cool way at the end of a unit to come back and test their knowledge on what they were maybe interested in, and then to bring those big puzzle pieces back together from your content, and maybe even putting together a career showcase at the end of whatever unit you've just discussed, from environmental resources to biotech to ag mechanics. You're going to find links to those things with this microsite that's already been assembled for you. Moving into the next deep dive, I personally was not aware of these resources until we were trained on them this past June. And for me, it really spoke that whenever we get out into the community and are trying to tell the story of agricultural education, or when we go to our elected officials, like we go to like a breakfast or a luncheon, or even at the Capitol during SLLC, are we really preparing our students to talk to that specific audience? And these literacy and advocacy materials really just spoke to me and said, like, I need to prepare my students a little bit better so they know how to talk to elementary students, their peers, the community, or those elected officials. And that's exactly what's been put together from National FFA already. You could spend a lot of time invested in this. So Melanie put the direct link there for you. But since this is like a standalone kind of a platform that FFA has put together, it's going to be a little bit separate from those educator resources. It's going to be under the programs and resources standalone itself. And from there, you'll kind of see some icons that may look familiar to you, but then also dive in with some more experience guides and things like that. So I want to talk about the top picture first. So you can kind of see that it says start course. So there are modules that have been created called their advocacy modules. And there's an overall module that explains what advocacy is. But then there's additional modules that go through the 4 audiences National FFA has identified that you may need to connect with. And again, that's community, elementary school students, peers, and elected officials. Okay. The next picture in like the lower right is representative about something new that FFA has started related to advocacy and providing tools for you to kind of spread basic agricultural literacy. And they are doing monthly advocacy celebrations. So I'm pretty sure all of us on here are aware of, like, June is dairy month. I'm drawing a blank on others right now, but there's kind of like there's always like some hype about different agricultural commodities at different times of the year. So National FFA has actually gone through, just starting in June, and they put resources together that help you promote that this is dairy month. What they did in September was focusing on ag power and technology, taking advantage of Labor Day that kicks off the month. So they really suggest that even if we are just sharing things on social media, they've put together a lot of cool infographics that you could just share just to promote that literacy piece. And really, students don't have to prepare anything. It's just taking what's already been created and then sharing it to really broaden the reach of what agriculture actually is. And then the final icon down here in the bottom right, if any of you complete or use like the PAAE guides that National FFA has put together, this may look very, very familiar to you. National FFA has used that same model to put together, kind of like implementation guides for events that are targeting one of those 4 audience groups. So they put together like a guide that has, it's like basically a skeleton plan. What do you want to do? Develop. What are we going to do next? But then there's experience guides that are actually, that include examples. So if you're looking to do something with elementary students, you can pull up that guide and there's ideas already put in for your students, so they're not thinking of things from scratch. And then there's a small portion for you to like make it specific to your community. So there's kind of 2 levels of those guides available for this resource, which I thought was really, really unique, so to speak. Some ideas, I see a lot of wheels turning and like head shaking, which is good. Just other ways that you could probably use this in your program If you are looking for things to fill your officer training, if you do like a session over the summer or you train throughout the year at various points in time, have your officers go through some of those modules before they're going to visit elementary school students or before you're going to SLLC and meeting with your elected officials. If anyone's participated or is curious about participating in the Ag Communications CDE, a lot of those advocacy modules really teach you about crafting a story, connecting with your audience, and that would be a really valuable resource for students interested in that career path or wanting to compete in that contest. Lots of foundational SAE ideas. If you can get together a group of students that want to assemble like a service learning project or even learn more about, well, if I want to do this in a community, what do I need to do first in terms of education? And then I mentioned before social media posts using what National FFA has put together for those monthly advocacy celebrations. And then as we're rounding the corner, coming to the end of the workshop here, I just want to make you aware that that National FFA Convention Implementation Guide was the bee's knees. It was pretty awesome. You didn't have to work hard at all to go and implement that during National FFA Convention Week, and it's still available. And if you registered as a chapter, you still have access to those workshops for a couple of months. And we haven't heard about when the cutoff is going to be. I don't think it'll be anytime soon because there's just so much rich content like with workshops and the Blue Room and things of that nature. So we'll have that link available to you when we share it with you after this presentation. But please just take advantage of that because a lot of time was spent in it and it did make your life a little bit easier as a teacher. So as we wrap this up, we'll also share with you, if you're still looking for virtual tips and tricks, just things to spice it up, National FFA has put together a clickable document that will take you for, if you're looking for things for group work or assessments, just some different ideas. But I would like to know, as we're bringing this to a close, which of the resources that we kind of listed out today, whether it was from like the beginning where we said, hey, here's, if you need help with ag tech, this is something to think about, but which one are you excited to explore? Any ideas for how you can make this come to life in your program? And I would love at least 4 answers in the chat. I'm a little behind on the chat, so I'll go back and read through some of those. Yep, the value chain is super duper valuable. My freshmen have been doing really well with that, just because everything's kind of laid out and visuals are becoming like the new thing. Ag communications, advocacy. Yeah, put some of your officers in those modules. And honestly, it's probably good for us as advisors to go through those and really think about, if I'm working with a group of students that hope to go to an elementary school, what do I need to do to help students understand like terminology and selection of activities and things like that. So yeah, and again, hopefully I see like lots of these things were just new to you. They were new to us a couple of months ago. So that's kind of what we're tasked with, is just kind of sharing these a couple at a time as we think they're valuable. So with that, we thank you so much for your time. Again, hopefully trying to add a little bit of member benefit and providing some extra resources since you're going to be coming to a meeting anyway. National FFA really values feedback and always encourages us to get that feedback and tweak what we do the next time. So on here, I think Melanie will be putting the link in the chat. If you're still using QR codes and you'd like to scan that, that would be phenomenal. We're going to wait probably 3 or 4 minutes, and then Melanie will be doing a drawing for a $10 gift card to National FFA. If you want to choose to give that, if you're the winner, you can give that to a student that's really rocking things out. You can use it as an incentive if you're hosting a session for your students to come to, or you can just use it for yourself. But we just want to give something back since you gave of your time here at the beginning. Yep, and there's the link. Thanks, Melanie. And Janae, just looking ahead, if you could let Melanie share her screen, she'll have the drawing ready to go shortly. Janae, can you look at Kelly's comment in the chat? If there's a room, are you guys doing like breakout rooms like for a county or something like that?
Yeah, Lancaster County folks, I'll wait till they wrap everything up here and we'll jump in really quick and you'll get a notification to jump in the breakout room.
Perfect, thank you. So I guess we'll wait about 30 more seconds here. I'm gonna turn it over to Melanie. She can show you another resource that we use very frequently when we're drawing for winners for things. I kind of have started using it for class just to call on kids when nobody responds on Zoom. So we're happy to share that resource with you as well. And sincerely thank you for your time and hope that you've taken something from this that you can integrate maybe next week, next month, next year. But it's all about trying to make your life easier so you don't have to sit there spinning your wheels and starting from scratch.
All right, so I'm gonna do the drawing here, and the resource that Darla is talking about that we're using for drawings is called Wheel of Names, and that's always a fun one. So if you logged on by 3:45, you are on the Wheel of Names for the gift card drawing and filled out your evaluation. So we are going to get our spinner going here. It does have sound effects, but I don't think I clicked that. And winner, Claudia Brady. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yep. So Claudia, I'm going to send you an email once the meeting gets rolling here. So it's just like a code that you'll use when you can go on to National FFA and place an order. So it's not a physical gift card or anything like that.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks.
And with that, thank you so much, Janae and Adam, for your hospitality to have us jump in before the meeting. And we'll turn it back over to you guys.
All right, Lancaster County folks, I'm gonna dump you in a room really fast.